Cheers. I'm very conscious that I'm wearing a red shirt. But I chose to wear a red shirt today. I have a weird relationship. Not a weird relationship, but I have a standoff relationship with the colour red. Because at one stage I studied Chinese medicine years ago, and red is an associated colour with Yin. And Yin is a Zhang Fu called the heart. And the heart houses the mind. And a colour that's associated with scattiness or madness is red. So I remember we had this guy called Tom Shanahan, and someone brought in a client, and he'd look at him, and it's a blonde lady full of gold wearing red, and he's like, I'm hearing Yin. And he just already diagnosed her what was wrong with her. Can't sleep, scatty, problem going to sleep, dreams of falling, on the tip of her tongue, a little bit mad. So I would stay away from the colour red, because if I caught myself wearing it, I'd probably think I was going mad. And I had a period in my life where I was super conscious of these type of signs and signals, but now I'm not. So now I choose to wear the red as a celebration of my nuttiness, because I'm feeling good. It's like you can't listen to Radiohead if you're depressed. You know, you can only listen to Radiohead if you're in great humour, because then you can get the beauty out of the misery. I think that's really what it is. What I was going to talk today about was listening and hearing, learning from listening. And I was thinking about at different times you just don't hear what's being said for whatever reason, the noise or the distraction, or you're not watching what's going on. Simple example would be, there was a DJ Shadow, was this dude that came out in 1995, 1996, 1997, something around that time. And he was a DJ that, mixed decks and samples and all sorts of shit. It's all like samples and playing two decks at the same time, and really like high level mixing. And Tower Records was in just off Grafton Street there, and I went into Tower Records. And the thing about Tower Records was you could listen to a track or an album and then buy it. Everywhere else, you just bought the CD. Like, I used to buy 2-3 CDs every week, and at that stage I would buy magazines. So when there was no social media, then you were still consuming stuff somewhere, whether it was a magazine or whether it was a CD or whatever it was. So I went in, everyone was talking about this album, DJ Shadow. So I bought it, didn't even listen to it, brought it home, listened to it, thought, this is fucking shite. What are they all talking about? And I gave it like 2 listens, and I was just like, I can't listen to this anymore. So I brought it back into the shop, and I said, hey, listen, can I change this for something else? And he goes, why? I've said, it's I don't like it, shit. And he's like, but it's DJ Shadow. Yeah, I know, but I don't like it, shit. Yeah, but it's DJ Shadow. And he was fucking insulted the guy, because the guys in Tower Records were big into their tunes, and they were kind of usually in bands or like just music heads, About 5 years later, I listened to it again, and I loved it. And I was able to hear it differently. And it's funny how that is. Same shit, same album, same stuff, but I appreciated what it was rather than the first time I heard it, which I didn't like it at all. There's a couple of people that I've disregarded or not listened to what they said, or kind of being influenced by other people a little bit, I suppose. One of them would be Jordan Peterson. And I would have listened to him and thought I liked the stuff, and then I started to listen to him, and then I noticed he wasn't around, and then I noticed that he was like, he couldn't leave his bedroom because he was depressed or anxious or whatever. I was like, how can I take the advice off a man that can't leave his bedroom? So I kind of like put that little wall up against it. And this week I've been listening to him a lot because he's bigly hugely influenced by Carl Jung, who I'm starting to get into. I read his I didn't read it. I had this audiobook of his autobiography, which I liked, and I'm gonna start looking into his other stuff. And Jordan Peterson would be a big component of his material, talking about shadows and the dark side of people, and you have to have some sort of dangerous side that you can control in order for good to flourish. I mean, I suppose Brian McCarthy used to say the same thing. You need the violence to control the world, because violence is needed to kind of have a standoffish. It's kind of like why people have nuclear bombs, because if you don't have nuclear bombs and I've got nuclear bombs, no one's going to use them because the threat's there. So if the threat of violence is always there, you can be honest and open. And I find with interactions with people, especially if they're just being dicks, I can stand up for myself, because I know that if it does become violent, I have a lot of experience with moving bodies around and martial arts, and just being in most numerous scenarios that I wouldn't be shocked by anything that some guy in a shop's gonna do or encounter, but he'll also get that confidence that, like, why is he so confident? Why is he not bothered by me? Why is he laughing when he should be a little bit nervous, So I started to listen to Peterson again, and then I realised, like, all the greats struggle, all of them. Like, they all, because they're so intellectually apt, they kind of troubled by their own intelligence. Like, if you're always questioning everything, eventually you're going to see things that you didn't realize. If you're eventually going to see where you're making mistakes, eventually you're not going to probably like the person you've become, because I think those guys are truthful on another level, whereas they're truth seekers, so they have to be truthful. So maybe they don't like the way they've portrayed themselves to the world. Maybe they don't like the way they've tried to please everybody. That's one thing I need to get away from. Pleasing everybody. And not pleasing, but not being truthful. And I've been in good practice with that of late. Being honest with people in a loving way. And sometimes you might say, look, what you're doing is shit. Or I'm saying a day-to-day basis here with the class, like, that was shit, which it was. Let's improve it. Instead of saying that was great, well done, whereas it really wasn't. So on that basis, on those small things, but saying it with love, not saying it in a kind of bullying way, not saying it in a kind of put down way, but saying it in a sense where it's critical, but we can fix it. The other thing I was going to talk about was the pleasing aspect of that we fall into, like trying to be popular, trying to be please like me, just those aspects of life. Whereas you're not going to go very far. You're not going to go very far. And what'll happen is, if you spread yourself too thin, you're just going to not have anything left then for the people or the person that you need to really nourish and cherish and be truthful to, including yourself, but the significant other that you may or may not meet in life. But if you start with yourself, and then if you bump into somebody else along the way and you recognize that these people are worth my full attention, my full honesty, and sometimes being honest is a little bit hurtful, but it's not as hurtful as lying. It's not as hurtful as secrets. It's not being, because then there's a lack of trust. If you trust somebody and they tell you the truth, you can figure it out. But if you trust somebody and they're lying all the time, you're just always like, you're never sure. You can never trust the equipment. But also then learning the lessons of truth and learning the lessons of the mistakes you've made is a skill in itself. I've had a couple of major ones in this life where they broke me, but they made me. Because if they hadn't happened, I'd still be doing the same shit I was. It's interesting hanging out with people that are a little bit younger, because I remember like mid 20s, I thought I had everything figured out, and then it all just fell apart for a long time, and it broke me, but it also made me. And then recently I had a bunch of shit happen to me that broke me, but then also made me, because I figured out what was important in life. And I figured out with a purpose and with a drive, you can really sort shit out. You can really do the work. Doing the work is the thing. I mean, people don't want to do the work, but do the work and then do more of it, and be open and honest. Yeah, because that's the hardest thing, because you're always worried about being judged. But like, only God can judge you. And you got to sleep with yourself at night. And if you're telling lies and you're all sneaking around everywhere with everything that you do, and you're just a fat middle-aged politician kissing babies with your fake teeth, it's just fickle. Whereas if you're just honest and here I am, all alone, working on improving, working on the lessons, because there's lessons everywhere, and I'm starting to see them in a lot more. And of late, people are asking me a lot of advice, whereas before, no one was asking me any advice because they didn't have any fucking advice to give. I think people smell it off you, I think people realise when you're starting to kind of go from that negative to that positive, where you're going from that kind of surplus to that excess. You're just like abundant. You're just overfilling with bliss, and people sense it off you. Like, I've had a lot of people ask me, especially in the dojo, like, I have 3 questions. What happened to just the one? I get little audiences now, whereas before I wasn't. I was kind of like, I'll just bounce, I'll head off down to the office, or I'll head out, or I don't really want to talk to anybody. I'd rather just fucking avoid everybody. Whereas now, I've got momentum, I've got drive, I've got truth. Yeah, I've figured out how important that actually is. It's the most important thing. It really is. Because you got to sleep with yourself at night. What else is happening? Yeah, I think routine is the key. And then do more. Because you have a lot more that you can do that you're not really getting done. I'm slacking on a few things, but the main thing that I'm working on is my lessons that I've learned in the last year, and how to become a more truthful, honest, better version of me. Better version of me, ever. Best one you've ever met. So if you meet me, I'm going to be better than the last time that you fucking met me. And that's my little goal now. That's it. So we'll push on. It's liberating. I can understand what it's like to be a gay man and be married with kids and then finally come out and say you're gay because you're terrified of it and you knew it. But when you do it, it's a weight. And for me, just being truthful with everybody I meet now, just being truthful is a weight off me shoulders, more so than being secretive and the life I've led in the last few years has been pretty secretive, It's been being a confidant, that was the gig, as well as, travel around the place. But there's a lot of stuff that, goes on in the background that people don't know about, and you have to gotta keep a tight lip on, and that's part of the gig, and that reflects then in everything else. Like sales guys, they're always like, hey, how are you? They're always selling, they never switch off. So when you meet them, they're always like, even if life is shit, they're like, yeah, everything's fantastic, sell. It's just that, So that's it. So I'm going to get into Carl Peterson, or Jordan Peterson, and I'm going to get one of the Carl Jung books on the shadow. I get into that. Next week I'm going back to Dublin. My mother's getting a hip surgery. She got a hip replacement and then the bone split. She's got brittle bones, so the fucking poor woman, the femur split on her. So I'm going to go back and nurse her for a little bit and see how she's doing. And drop around, see a few people, spread the love, go to Sunday Mass, and do all the good stuff. Yeah, that's it. So, that's it for today. I don't know what I was talking about, but I hope it was good. So, till the next one, we are all one. Hare Krishna. Namaste. See you soon.